I never thought I'd bury my own mother's favorite rosary beads in the backyard, right next to the swing set where she used to pray for me to just be normal. But there I was, at 3 a.m., dirt under my nails, whispering apologies to the stars because the woman who birthed me had sold my soul for a clean family album. It wasn't murder. Not exactly. More like exhuming the truth she'd buried deeper than any grave. And as the first shovel of soil hit the beads, I realized the real shame wasn't my abilities, as she called them. It was hers. For thinking silence was salvation. That night in our cookie-cutter cul-de-sac in suburban Ohio, the kind of place where neighbors wave from minivans and pretend the opioid crisis is just a Netflix special, I decided payback wasn't a dish best served cold. It was a wildfire, scorching everything in its path. My name's Sadie, and if my parents thought shaming my autistic wiring into submission would keep their secret safe, they were dead wrong. I'd been their scapegoat for years. The kid who couldn't hack it in the neurotypical rat race, all while carrying the weight of Dad's embezzlement from the local credit union. They pinned it on me, their awkward daughter with the special needs, because who would believe a straight-A girl like me over the Golden Boy Scout leader? But here's the hook that still keeps me up. The day I walked into that courtroom, 19 and trembling, pleading guilty to a felony I didn't commit, my mother hugged me goodbye with tears in her eyes and said, "This is for the family, Sadie. God forgives." Little did she know. Forgiveness was off the menu. I was rewriting the script, and my pen was dipped in the ink of every lie they'd ever told. The fluorescent hum of the county jail's visiting room buzzed like a swarm of angry hornets in my skull, amplifying every tick of the institutional clock on the wall. It was my third month inside, and the world outside felt like a fever dream I'd half forgotten. Mom sat across from me, her peroxide blonde bob impeccable, clutching a styrofoam cup of vending machine coffee like it was holy water. Dad wasn't there, too busy handling things at the hardware store he still owned, the one he'd nearly tanked with his sticky fingers in the till. "Sadie. Honey," she started, her voice that syrupy southern-tinged lilt she'd picked up from reruns of Steel Magnolias to sound more relatable at PDA meetings. "We've got a plan. Your Aunt Rita's taking the guest room, and we'll say you were studying abroad. Gap year, right? Everyone does it. Studying abroad. In a 6x8 cell with a bunkmate who cried herself to sleep over a boyfriend's ghosting." I stared at the plexiglass divider, smudged with fingerprints from 100 desperate daughters, and wondered when she'd notice the fire in my eyes wasn't dimming. It had always been there, flickering under layers of their shame, the way they'd yanked me out of art classes because drawing funny pictures won't pay the bills, or how they'd medicated my meltdowns with side eyes and whispers about fixing me. Autism wasn't a superpower in our house, it was a liability. A glitch in the American dream they'd curated with white picket fences and forced smiles. I leaned into the receiver, my voice steady for the first time in years.
"Mom, I didn't take that money. Dad did.
For his poker nights, the boat he never bought, the mistress in Cleveland who texts him Bible verses on Sundays." Her face crumpled like wet Kleenex, but only for a second, then the mask snapped back. "Don't you dare,
Sadie.
You're confused. The stress. It's your condition talking. Condition. Like I was a leaky faucet they could plumber away. I'd overheard them 100 times. Late-night kitchen confessions over boxed wine. If Sadie wasn't so off, we could have moved to Florida by now. They blamed my abilities, my hyper-focus on patterns, my encyclopedic memory for details they wished I'd forget for everything. The time I recited Dad's gambling debts aloud at Thanksgiving, Or when I mapped out Mom's affair with the pastor on a napkin sketch. I was the family albatross, not the embezzler. But that day, something shifted. The jail's rec hour had introduced me to Lila, a wiry ex-con with tattoos snaking up her arms like barbed wire and a laugh that cut through the despair. She'd done time for hacking a rival's casino algorithm, petty revenge for rigging her out of a jackpot. "Girl," she'd said, passing me a contraband crossword under the table, "secrets are just puzzles waiting for the right solver. You got the brain for it. Use it." Lila saw what my parents never did. My autism wasn't a cage, it was a key. By lights out, I'd sketched my first plan on the back of a commissary receipt, timelines, connections, the digital breadcrumbs Dad left like Hansel in a strip club. Embezzlement from First Ohio Credit Union, $47,000 siphoned over 2 years. Funneled through shell accounts he'd learned from some shady YouTube tutorial. They'd framed me by planting forged checks in my backpack. The one with my doodles of circuit boards and unsolved riddles. I was the perfect patsy, the troubled teen who struggled with reality. Visitation ended with Mom's parting shot. "Pray on it,
Sadie."
God tests us. I hung up, the click echoing like a gavel.
God? Nah.
This was Darwin. Baby, adapt or get eaten. And I was done being the meal. Back in Gen Pop, I cornered Lila in the laundry room, the air thick with bleach and regret. "Teach me," I said, shoving the receipt her way. She scanned it, eyes lighting up like she'd hit the Powerball. "Kid, you're a natural."
But revenge?
"It's a bitch that bites back." "You sure?" I nodded, the weight of buried rosaries already forming in my gut. They shamed me for seeing too much. Now I'll make 'em blind. Lila's lesson started that night. Basic coding on a smuggled phone. Fishing basics cribbed from her glory days. "Think like the mark," she'd say. "Your old man's sloppy," passwords like Sadie sucks one. We laughed. A rare sound in that concrete tomb. But mine was edged with something darker. Every keystroke was a chisel, carving away the girl they'd buried alive. Months blurred, court dates were my public defender. A harried guy named Mr. Kessler with coffee stains on his tie. Pushed the plea because evidence is ironclad. Ironclad my ass, it was forged in their panic. Sentencing came fast. 2 years probation after 6 months served. Community service at the very credit union Dad still banked at. Poetic. Really? I walked out in a thrift store sundress Mom had dropped off. The Ohio summer sun hitting my skin like a slap. Freedom tasted like ash. Home wasn't home anymore. The cul-de-sac lawns were mowed to perfection. American flags flapping lazily from porches. But our split-level rancher sagged under invisible rot. Dad greeted me with a bear hug that smelled of Old Spice and deceit. Mom with a casserole labeled "Welcome Back" in Sharpie, tuna noodle. My least favorite. Because even mercy had to sting. "We've prayed so hard," Mom said over dinner, her eyes darting to Dad like he held the script. "This is a fresh start. No more episodes. Code for my abilities flaring up, the hypervigilance that caught Dad's browser history. The pattern recognition that flagged Mom's lipstick shades not matching her alibis. They drugged me with Ritalin as a kid. Then therapy bills they charged to the union fund. "You're too sensitive, Sadie," Dad would grunt, slamming his beer. Sensitive? Try perceptive. I saw the fractures in their facade when they were still pretending to be Ward and June Cleaver. That first night, I lay in my old bed, posters of binary code and unsolved Fermi paradoxes peeling from the walls. And hacked Dad's email from my laptop, the one they'd fixed by installing parental controls. Irony much? His inbox was a goldmine, receipts for boat payments, love notes from Angela in accounts payable, and jackpot, a chain of emails to a PI firm.
Dated the week before my arrest.
Make sure it's airtight on the girl.
She's got that thing.
No one'll buy her story. Betrayal hit like vertigo. They'd hired a fixer to bury me deeper. I forwarded it all to a burner account, my heart pounding in sync with the ceiling fans were. Lila's voice echoed. Puzzles.
Sadie. Solvi Inc.
By week's end, I was back at the credit union for service, alphabetizing files under the watchful eye of Mrs. Hargrove, the branch manager with a perm that defied gravity. She clucked sympathetically. Embezzlement's a hard lesson,
dear.
But you're young. Plenty of time to turn it around. If only she knew the real thief was golfing with her husband on weekends. I spotted the pattern on day 3. Dad's approval spiking on low-value loans to ghost businesses. Classic laundering. My abilities kicked in. I cross-referenced public records on my phone during lunch, tracing threads to a shell corp in Delaware.
Boom.
The antagonist in my story wasn't just Dad. It was a web. Sticky with complicity. Mom knew. Her emails confessed as much. Tearful pleas to keep it quiet for Sadie's sake. Quiet? Iderua. The autumn leaves in Ohio turned the color of caution tape, a fitting backdrop for the storm I was brewing. 2 months post-release, and the neighborhood still buzzed with whispers. Poor Sadie. Such potential wasted on. You know, they didn't say autism, but it hung in the air like secondhand smoke at a backyard barbecue. I played the part. Awkward waves to Mrs. Jenkins next door. Forced small talk at the grocery, where Mom worked the floral counter. Her smile as brittle as the carnations she arranged. But underneath, I was a ghost in my own machine, compiling data like a deranged archivist. Lila had hooked me up with an online forum, Revenge Coders Anonymous, a dark web corner where jilted lovers and corporate whistleblowers swap scripts. Stay anonymous, kid, she'd messaged from her halfway house. Or you'll end up back here, trading SIGs for Wi-Fi.
I did.
My handle, Pattern Breaker 87. First move, a subtle DDoS on Dad's Poker League site. Nothing traceable. Just enough lag to cost him a pot. He came home fuming, blaming damn millennials and their hacks. Mom shot me a look, suspicion flickering like a bad bulb. Good. Let it simmer. The real play crystallized at a family reunion in Akron. The kind of affair where aunts in bedazzled jeans pass deviled eggs and dredge up old glories. Uncle Ray, Dad's brother, cornered me by the cooler. His breath rank with Bud Light. Heard about your troubles,
Sadie.
Tough break. But hey, runs in the family. Your granddad pulled the same stunt back in '78. Credit union black sheep. Granddad? The war hero, with the purple heart framed in our living room? Ray laughed, oblivious to the hook sinking in. Your folks covered it up. Shipped him to a VA home. Said he had shell shock. Same as your wiring? I guess. Wiring. Another jab at my brain. The one that pieced it together on the drive home. Generations of shame. Sin sloughed onto the weak link. Granddad's embezzlement, petty theft from war bonds, mirrored Dad's. And me, the vessel for their absolution. Mom's secret wasn't just complicity, it was lineage. She'd borne the brunt as a teen, blaming herself for distracting Granddad with her fussiness, early signs of what they'd later label my condition. That night, rain lashing the windows like judgment, I confronted her in the kitchen. Dad was at his men's group, code for AA meetings he skipped for strip clubs. "Tell me about Grandpa," I said, sliding a printout across the Formica, digitized VA records I'd fished from a lax archive. Her hands trembled on the dish rag, eyes widening like I'd summoned demons. "Sadie, that's private. Ancient history. History repeats."
Mom.
Dad's not the first. And I wasn't either. I laid it out, the emails,
The PI.
the planted checks. She deflated, sinking onto a stool, the rosary she'd clutched since my arrest dangling like a noose. "It was for you," she whispered. "The world. It's hard for girls like us. Sensitive. We thought if you took the fall, quick plea, it'd teach you resilience. Make you normal." Normal. The word ignited something feral. "You framed your daughter to toughen her up, while Dad's out golfing with stolen cash." My voice cracked, but not from hurt, from the clarity of betrayal's blade. She'd flipped the script on her own blood, scheming with Dad to martyr me for their sins. Controversial? Hell. It was Shakespearean rot. She reached for me, but I stepped back. God forgives.
Sadie.
We all make mistakes. Mistakes? This was premeditated. And God's not in the fraud department. I stormed out, the screen door slamming like a punctuation mark. In my car, a beat-up Civic with a bumper sticker reading, "Autism speaks, actions do," I fired off the first leak, anonymized docs to the local paper's tip line. Not enough to sink them. Just ripples. A reporter called Dad the next day, fishing for quotes on rising white-collar crime in the heartland. Panic set in. Dad's rages echoed through the walls, porcelain shattering. Accusations flying at Mom. "Did you talk? That damn girl with her delusions." I eavesdropped from the attic, my sanctuary of stacked hard drives and conspiracy boards pinned with yarn. Their flips were masterful. One night, united in prayer circles at church. The next, fingers pointing like loaded guns. Mom confessed to the pastor, who, surprise, funneled tithes to Dad's shell accounts. The web tightened. Enter Victor Hale, the antagonist who'd lurked in shadows until now. Dad's business partner, a slick realtor with a spray tan and a Rolex that screamed new money. I'd clocked him at barbecues, schmoozing neighbors with tales of flipping foreclosures while eyeing me like a glitchy appliance. Turns out, he was the architect, the PI was his cousin, the shell corp his baby. Victor flipped sides like a politician at a fundraiser, allied to Dad 1 minute, whispering doubts the next. "Joe's getting sloppy," he texted, which I intercepted via a keylogger on Mom's phone. Kid sisters sniffing. Cut her out. Sloppy indeed. I escalated, spoofed emails from Victor to the feds, hinting at IRS evasion. Nothing direct, just enough to draw audits. Dad's hardware store hemorrhaged cash, shelves bare as his excuses. Economy.
Sadie.
Trump's tariffs or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Mom cornered me at breakfast, hollow-eyed. What's happening? The bank's freezing accounts. I met her gaze, unflinching. Karma's got a good memory. She slapped me, first time ever, her palm stinging like regret. You're destroying us. For what? Your pride? Pride? Try justice. But her words wormed in. Controversial seeds. Was I the villain? Unraveling a family for a condition they feared more than fraud? The tension coiled. Darken you am. As Ohio's gray skies mirrored my mood. Lila called that afternoon. Heard you're stirring shit.
Good.
But watch the flippers, guys like Victor. They'll eat their own to survive. She was right. That weekend, Victor showed at our door. All charm and concern. Sadie. Right? Heard you're into computers. Ever think about real estate tech? I could use a sharp mind. Sharp mind. Patronizing prick. Over weak tea. He probed. Family's rough.
Huh?
Secrets way heavy. I played dumb. Twirling my mug.
Yeah.
Like why Dad's boat fund smells fishy. His laugh was oil slick, but his eyes narrowed, calculating the threat. By Monday, the first real blow landed, a cease and desist from Victor's firm, accusing me of defamation over the leaks. Mom cried. Dad threatened disownment. You're no daughter of mine, he bellowed, veins bulging like rivers on a map. No daughter?
Fine.
I'd be the reckoning. Winter clamped down on the Midwest like a vice, snow blanketing the sins we'd all pretended weren't there. Christmas loomed, that saccharine American ritual of forced cheer and fruitcake no one eats. But our house was a war zone, lights strung crooked, tree half-decorated because Mom's hands shook too much to hang the ornaments. I'd moved to the basement, a damp cave of exposed pipes and my jury-rigged server rack, where the hum of fans drowned out their arguments. The leaks had snowballed. The Akron Beacon ran a vague piece on insider fraud at local institutions, quoting anonymous sources me. Dad's store hour shortened, whispers following him like exhaust. Victor, the snake, flipped again, ally to enemy in a boardroom blink. He'd cut Dad loose, rerouting funds to his own pockets, then played savior by offering a bailout loan at usurious rates. Family first. Joe, he schmoozed over steak at the country club. Per the emails, I slurped like forbidden soup. Mom descended the stairs one night, wrapped in her chenille robe, a ghost of the woman who'd baked apple pies for bake sales. Sadie.
Please.
Call it off. Victor says. He says you'll ruin us all.
Victor.
The name slithered out like a curse. I dug deeper. His empire built on flipping houses in dying mill towns, evicting vets for profit, all while donating to family values PACs. Hypocrite extraordinaire. And his flip on us? Personal. Turns out, as a teen, he'd crushed on Mom, rejected. Naturally, and now.
Payback via proxy.
Scheming bastard. Turning our betrayal into his chessboard. Tell me the truth, I said, pausing my script. All of it. Or I hit send on the motherlode. My finger hovered over the enter key. A dossier zipped and ready. Bank trails. Affair transcripts. Even Victor's offshore slush fund tied to Russian oligarchs. Edgy stuff that'd make Fox News salivate. She collapsed onto a milk crate, spilling the tea she'd brought as peace offering. It started with your grandpa. He stole to pay gambling debts. Your dad was just a boy. Saw it all. We swore silence. But Joe. He chased the thrill. The credit union was easy pickings. When you started noticing your drawings of numbers, the questions, we panicked. Thought probation would ground you. Make you see the world's gray. Not black and white.
Gray?
My world was patterns in chaos. Connections others missed. They'd shamed it as obsession, dosed me with shame instead of support. You bore his sins so we could bear the guilt, she finished, tears carving tracks in her makeup. Bore his sins. Like a modern scapegoat. My abilities the perfect cover. Controversial? Absolutely. Parents weaponizing a child's neurodivergence for felony cover-up. It polarized even me, victims or monsters. The line blurred in the basement's gloom.
I didn't hit send.
Not yet. Instead, I flipped the board. Anonymous tips to Victor's rivals, seeding doubt about his stability. His deals soured overnight, buyers balking. Inspectors finding code violations I'd flagged via sock puppet accounts. He retaliated. Of course, deepfakes circulated online, painting me as the unstable hacker stalking my abusive folks. Neighborhood Facebook exploded. Pray for Sadie. That poor girl with her issues. Issues. Again. Dad confronted me at dawn, snow crunching under his boots as he yanked open the basement door. What the hell are you doing? Victor's pulling out, says you're a liability. I rose slowly, laptop warm in my arms like a shield. Good. He's next, his fist clenched, but he deflated, the golden Boy Scout undone by his own greed. For a heartbeat, pity flickered. Then memory, the courtroom. His averted eyes as I sobbed, not guilty. Get out, he growled. Before you drag us to hell. Hell? We'd built it brick by lie. I packed a duffel, laptop, birth certificate, the rosary beads I dug up weeks ago, and hit the road at first light. I-71 stretching north like a vein to Cleveland. Lila waited in a dive bar off Euclid, nursing a whiskey sour. Rough Christmas, she quipped, sliding me a key to her crash pad.
Worse.
Family edition. We plotted over greasy diner eggs, expose Victor as the puppet master, loop in the feds without fingering Dad outright. Moral ambiguity. Kid, Lila warned. You'll make enemies on both sides. She was right. The climax brewed in a warehouse on the Cuyahoga's rusting banks, where Victor held informal meetings with his crew, shady types in knockoff Armani. I'd tailed him via GPS. I'd slipped into his Escalade during a feigned apology visit. Snow fell thick, muffling the city's pulse. As I crouched in the shadows, drone humming softly overhead, Lila's old toy, modded for night vision.
Inside.
Voices echoed. Victor's drawl. Dad's pleas. Cut me in.
Beak.
Sadie's bluffing. She's always been.
Off.
Victor laughed. A sound like grinding gears.
Off.
She's smart.
Joe.
Smarter than you. That's why I'm flipping the script. She's my new partner. Girls got talent for this shit. Partner? My stomach lurched. He'd been courting me? The real estate tech offer, a Trojan horse to harness my skills for his empire. Betrayal layered on betrayal. His flips a carousel of opportunism. I triggered the drone's drop. A USB rig to his laptop. Auto-uploading the full dossier to WikiLeaks mirrors and local news drops.
Sirens bailat distantly. Fatside tipatanon musli.
Tracing the oligarch ties. Chaos erupted. Shouts. Doors slamming. Dad bolting into the snow like a stag. Victor emerged last. Coat flapping. Eyes scanning the dark. Sadie, he called. Voice honeyed venom. I know you're here. We could rule this town. You see the angles no one else does. Temptation clawed. Power. Validation for my abilities. But his grin twisted it sour. Or, I bury you like your old man. I hit record on my phone. His confession captured in pixels. Game over. Victor. The drone feed beamed live to a burner Twitch. Anonymous viewers piling in. Comments a frenzy. Whistleblower or wrecking ball? Polarizing. Just as I'd engineered. Dad stumbled past.
Spotting me.
You did this? For spite. For truth. I shot back. But his eyes, haunted, human, cracked my resolve. As cuffs clicked on Victor, the snow turned to slush underfoot, mixing clean and dirty. Mom called at midnight. From a motel. He's gone?
Sadie.
Victor flipped on Joe, full immunity, for testimony. Dad arrested. Singing like a canary to save his skin. Her voice broke. What have we become? Monsters? I thought. Or survivors. The line? Blurred as a Midwest fog. Spring thawed the ice, but not the chill in my veins. Cleveland streets pulsed with rebirth, dogwoods blooming along the lakefront. Hipsters in flannel hawking CBD at farmers markets, but I felt adrift. A glitch in the matrix of normalcy. Dad's arraignment made headlines. Local dad busted in embezzlement ring. Daughter's cyber skills key to bust. They painted me the hero hacker. Autism my secret weapon. But the comments section seethed. Entitled Snowflake ruining her family versus. About time someone called out the boomers. Victor rotted in federal holding. His flips finally biting him, testifying against bigger fish for a plea. But his empire crumbled like wet drywall. He'd tried one last gambit pre-arrest, emailing me a partnership proposal, laced with blackmail files on Mom's pastor fling. I forwarded it to his prosecutor. Checkmate. Lila and I holed up in her walk-up, walls papered in conspiracy corkboards, subsisting on DoorDash and dark web gigs. She taught me the ropes, ethical-ish pentesting for startups, turning my abilities into freelance gold.
See?
Not a curse, she'd say. Clinking bottles. But nights brought ghosts, dreams of Mom's slap. Dad's hollow pleas. She reached out via cousin's phone. Post-motel eviction. Sadie,
Come home.
your father's.
Changed.
Church is helping.
Changed.
Like software patched, not rewritten. I drove south, anyway. The highway a ribbon of regret, pulling into the driveway as fireflies winked like faulty code. The house sagged, lawn overgrown, symbolic. Really? Mom hugged me fiercely, ribs sharp under her blouse. We forgive you. Forgive me? The gall ignited fresh tension, dark and brooding. Dad waited in the living room, gaunt in khakis, Bible open on his lap. Sadie girl. I see it now. Your gift. God wired you special for a reason.
Gift.
The word twisted, controversial in its piety, had prison sermons flipped him genuine? Or was this another scheme? Over lukewarm coffee. The confessions poured, Dad's spiral from Vietnam flashbacks, unspoken PTSD. Like Granddad's. Mom's complicity born of love turned toxic. We thought shaming you would protect you, she admitted. Make you hide the parts that scared us. Scared them. My hyperfocus. The meltdowns they medicated away, traits they'd mirrored in their own buried traumas. The betrayal cut symmetric. I'd borne their sins. But in revenge, I'd amplified the fractures. Polarizing payoff, readers and me, torn. Justice or vengeance. Victor's trial loomed. A circus in federal court downtown. I testified, remotely, voice steady as I detailed the hacks. The flips.
The web.
His lawyer grilled. Isn't this personal? Miss Ellis? A daughter's grudge against her flawed parents.
Flawed.
Understatement. But the judge sustained, and Victor's face, ashen. Defeated, sparked no joy. Just emptiness. He flipped one last time on the stand, implicating Dad deeper for leniency, But the jury saw through. Convictions all around. Post-verdict, the media frenzy peaked. CNN did a segment. Neurodivergent vigilante or family destroyer? Pundits debated disability rights, activists hailed me. Tradcons decried kids weaponizing therapy speak. I dodged interviews, but the checks rolled in. Book deals.
TEDx invites.
Lila laughed. Tables turned.
Kid.
Who's shamed now? Mom and Dad got probation, community service at a shelter. Ironic restitution. They attended my first paid talk in a community center smelling of stale donuts, where I spoke on seeing patterns in chaos, autism, and accountability. They clapped, tears streaming, but the applause felt hollow. Respect? Earned. Maybe. But trust was circuitry fried. That night, back home, our home, tentatively, Dad pulled me aside. Proud of you.
Sadie.
Really? His hand on my shoulder.
Tentative.
I nodded, the weight lifting fractionally. But twists lurk in the code. A week later, rifling Mom's drawer for Advil, I found it, a letter from Victor. Smuggled pre-trial. Tells Sadie she's like me, born to break systems. Offer stands if she wants out of that podunk life. Attached, a flash drive. Unlabeled. Heart-hammering. I plugged it in. Files bloomed, not blackmail, but blueprints. Victor's legacy, a network of neurodivergent coders he'd groomed in shadows, flipping society's underbelly for profit. He'd seen my leaks not as threat, but recruitment. The antagonist's final flip, villain to mentor? Controversial as hell. Join and betray my redemption, or delete and stay the hero. The drive's glow illuminated my face. Decisions branching like lightning. I pocketed it. Decisions could wait till dawn. Summer scorched the heartland, humidity thick as unspoken grudges, turning our backyard barbecues into sweat-soaked standoffs. The tables had turned. All right, Dad manned the grill with a felon's humility, flipping burgers instead of funds, while Mom tended her herb garden, whispering to basil like it absolved her. Neighbors nodded respectfully now. The shaming flipped to sympathy. Sadie's the one who saved us from that crook, Victor. Saved? Debatable. But respect clung like barbecue smoke. Hazy and earned. I deferred the flash drive siren call, burying it in my desk drawer next to the rosary beads, talismans of what-ifs. Lila pushed. Burn it.
Kid.
Or use it. Your call. My call. For the first time, agency hummed real, not reactive. The climax crested at a block party. Red, white, and blue streamers whipping in the breeze. Kids shrieking on slip-and slides while dads pounded IPAs and swapped Trump-era gripes. Victor's face splashed across phones, guilty verdict trending. His empire seized for asset forfeiture. Cheers erupted, but I slipped away to the garage, the air heavy with oil and old resentments. Mom found me there, clutching a solo cup of lukewarm punch. Sadie. We need to talk. Her eyes darted, nervous. Scheming? The old paranoia flared. About what? The plea deal? Or how you two flipped me under the bus for family? Bitterness edged my tone. The wound scabbing but itchy. She sighed, leaning against Dad's workbench, tools scattered like failed fixes. Not that. The letter. Victor's. I kept it from you, thought it'd poison the progress. Poison. Ironic. From the woman who dosed my childhood with denial. You read it? I snatched the envelope from her pocket.
Se alunbroken.
Liar. The betrayal stung fresh, another layer. Her protection, just control and drag. Only to protect, she started, but I waved it off, ripping it open. The words blurred. Recruitment pitch. Veiled threats. Promises of power. And a postscript. Your mom's always known the game. Ask her about the real first theft. Real first theft. My gaze snapped to hers. The garage spinning slow. What does he mean? The silence stretched. Taut as a tripwire. Then, crumble. It was me.
Sadie.
The credit union skim started with me. Your dad covered. Like his father before. We pinned it on you because... God. Because you are invisible. The girl no one listened to. Invisible. The shame they'd heaped? Projection. Their own ghosts haunting me. I'd borne not just Dad's crime, but the family's original sin, a chain of women silenced. Sin sloughed onto the sensitive ones. Mom. Young and desperate. Stealing for an abortion fund after a teen fling. Granddads cover up the price. They'd flip generations. Scheming in cycles. You used me, I whispered. The punch cup crumpling in my fist. My autism, the condition you shamed, to make me the perfect fall girl. Because who believes the weird kid? Tears carved her face. We were scared. Of losing everything, the house, the life. But you saw through it all. Broke the cycle. Broke it? Or perpetuated. The party noise filtered in laughter. Fireworks popping like gunfire. Polarizing pinnacle. Forgive and heal. Or expose her to. Shattering the fragile truce. Readers would split. Maternal mercy or monstrous manipulation. Dad burst and then. Apron smeared. Face alight. Sadie. Neighbors want to hear your story. The real one. His grin faltered at our tableau. What's wrong? Everything. Nothing. I pocketed the letter. The drive's weight metaphorical now. Just family history, I said, voice steady. The kind that repeats unless you rewrite it. We emerged to applause. Me at the picnic table center. Spinning a sanitized tale, shamed abilities turned superpower. Tables turned on corruption. They ate it up, claps, backslaps, offers of jobs and JVPs. Mom and Dad beamed, pride genuine this time.
Or so it seemed.
But as stars pricked the dusk, I slipped the drive into the fire pit. Flames devouring Victor's temptation. No joining the dark side. I'd forge my own code. Lila texted, heard the speech. Kicking ass. Ass-kicking or self-flagellation. The twist landed soft, in Revenge's roar. I'd uncovered not just their lies, but my strength. Respect?
Meaning. Hard one.
Theirs? Conditional. A debate for therapy couches. Mom hugged me goodbye that night, whispering,
I'm sorry. For all of it.
I nodded. The embrace real, tentative bridge over the abyss. Dad lingered on the porch, rocking chair creaking. You proved it.
Kid.
Who deserves respect? His eyes twinkled. A hint of the boy he'd buried. I drove north at dawn. Windows down. Wind whipping secrets away. Happy ending? Tragic? Depends on the lens. In America's fractured mirror, we're all a little both shamed, risen, forever arguing the score.
The end? Nah.
Just the next pattern waiting to break.